The Munsters gave us monsters, laughter, spooky adventures, and one unforgettable family unlike anything television had seen before. But behind the strange faces and hilarious moments, the real lives of its beloved cast became far more emotional than the show itself. Some became television legends, while others faced illness, personal struggles, and heartbreaking final chapters that many fans never knew about. Today, Time Rewind TV takes you back to remember the cast of the Munsters, 1964, then and now in 2026. Fred Gwynne was born in 1926 in New York City. He was 38 when the Munsters premiered, and he stepped into the enormous boots of Herman Munster, a towering Frankenstein-like father who looked terrifying but behaved like an oversized kid. Gwynne gave Herman a booming laugh, clumsy innocence, and a surprisingly gentle heart. Before the Munsters, Gwynne was already known for Car 54, Where Are You? And he later delivered memorable performances in films like Pet Sematary and My Cousin Vinny. He died in 1993 at age 66 from pancreatic cancer. Herman worked because Gwynne never played him as a monster. He was sensitive, goofy, easily excited, and completely devoted to his family. And that contradiction made him impossible not to love. Al Lewis was born in New York City, with his exact birth year long disputed. He was in his early 40s when the Munsters premiered, and he became Grandpa, the mischievous vampire who filled the Munster mansion with strange experiments, wild inventions, and plenty of trouble. Lewis gave Grandpa the energy of a mad scientist who was always having the time of his life. After the series, Lewis continued acting but remained closely tied to the character fans loved. He died in 2006 at age 82. Grandpa worked because Lewis made him more funny than frightening. He could be sneaky, dramatic, and completely unpredictable, but underneath all the madness was a grandfather who genuinely loved his strange little family. Yvonne de Carlo was born in 1922 in Vancouver, Canada. She was 42 when the Munsters premiered, and she became Lily Munster, elegant, pale, perfectly composed, and somehow the most sensible person inside one of television's strangest households. De Carlo gave Lily glamour without losing the comedy. Long before Mockingbird Lane, De Carlo was already a major Hollywood star, appearing in films like The Ten Commandments. She died in 2007 at age 84 from heart failure. Lily worked because De Carlo never treated the character like a joke. She played her as a loving wife and protective mother who simply happened to be a vampire. That straight-faced approach made the Munsters' bizarre family life even funnier. Pat Priest was born in 1936 in Bountiful, Utah. She was 28 when she took over the role of Marilyn Munster, the family's beautiful niece who was considered strangely unattractive by her monster relatives. Priest played Marilyn sweet, patient, and completely comfortable inside the bizarre Munster household. After the Munsters, Priest continued acting for several years before eventually stepping away from Hollywood. Now 89, she remains closely associated with the series and its devoted fans. Marilyn worked because the joke was wonderfully backwards. Everyone outside the house thought she was beautiful, while the Munsters worried endlessly about her unfortunate appearance. And Priest played that absurd situation with exactly the right amount of innocence. Butch Patrick was born in 1953 in Los Angeles, California. He was only 11 when the Munsters premiered, and he became Eddie Munster, the pointy-eared, mischievous young werewolf who was every bit as playful as any ordinary American kid. Patrick gave Eddie enough innocence to make the monster makeup almost disappear. After the series, Patrick continued acting and eventually became a familiar presence at classic television events and Munsters reunions. Now 73, he remains one of the show's most recognizable surviving stars. Eddie worked because Patrick played him like a normal kid instead of a little monster. He worried about school, looked up to his father, and got into trouble, and the Fangs were simply part of the family. Paul Lynde was born in 1926 in Mount Vernon, Ohio. He was 38 when the Munsters premiered and later appeared as Dr. Edward Dudley, bringing his unmistakable voice, sarcastic timing, and nervous energy into the Munsters' strange world. Even in a guest role, Lynde had a way of making ordinary reactions incredibly funny. He later became one of America's most recognizable television personalities, especially through Bewitched and Hollywood Squares. Lynde died in 1982 at age 55 after suffering a heart attack. Dr. Dudley worked because Lynde understood exactly how to react to the Munsters, not with heroic courage, but with the bewilderment of an ordinary man trapped in a completely abnormal situation. John Fiedler was born in 1925 in Platteville, Wisconsin. He was around 40 when he appeared as Warren Bloom on the Munsters, bringing the nervous, soft-spoken quality that made him such a recognizable character actor. His understated style was a perfect contrast to the enormous personalities living at 1313 Mockingbird Lane. Fiedler built a remarkable career across film and television, but generations also knew his distinctive voice as Piglet in Disney's Winnie the Pooh. He died in 2005 at age 80. Warren Bloom was only a small piece of the Munsters story, but Fiedler made roles like this memorable because he never needed to dominate a scene. His voice, expressions, and nervous energy did the work for him. John Carradine was born in 1906 in New York City. He was in his late 50s when he appeared as Mr. Gateman, Herman's demanding boss at the funeral parlor. Tall, severe, and naturally intimidating, Carradine looked completely at home in the darkly comic world of the Munsters. By then, Carradine was already a Hollywood veteran with hundreds of screen credits, especially westerns and horror films. He died in 1988 at age 82. Mr. Gateman worked because Carradine didn't need monster makeup to seem spooky. His long face, deep voice, and old-school dramatic presence fit Mockingbird Lane perfectly, making an ordinary employer feel like someone who could have belonged to the Munster family himself. Beverly Owen was born in 1937 in Ottumwa, Iowa. She was 27 when the Munsters premiered and became the original Marilyn Munster, the beautiful niece whose family somehow believed she was the unfortunate-looking one. Owen gave Marilyn a gentle sweetness that helped establish one of the show's funniest running jokes. She left the series after its first 13 episodes, and Pat Priest later took over the role. Owen eventually stepped away from Hollywood and lived a much more private life. She died in 2019 at age 81 from ovarian cancer. Marilyn worked because Owen played the absurdity completely straight. She never seemed to realize she was the normal one, and that made the joke much funnier. Harvey Korman was born in 1927 in Chicago, Illinois. He was in his late 30s when he appeared as Lenny Bates on the Munsters, years before becoming one of America's best-known television comedians. Even in an early guest role, Korman already had the expressive face and sharp timing that would later define his career. He became famous through The Carol Burnett Show and later appeared in comedy classics like Blazing Saddles. Korman died in 2008 at age 81 from complications related to an abdominal aortic aneurysm. Lenny Bates wasn't the role that made him famous, but watching him in the Munsters gives fans a glimpse of the comic talent that was about to become impossible to ignore. Chet Stratton was born in 1910 in Paterson, New Jersey. He was in his mid-50s when he appeared as Clyde Thornton on the Munsters, bringing the polished, dependable style of a veteran character actor to the show's strange suburban world. He didn't need wild makeup or exaggerated comedy to fit into the story. Stratton spent much of his career moving between television, film, and the stage, often appearing in smaller supporting roles that helped hold a scene together. He died in 1970 at age 59. Clyde Thornton may not be one of the names casual viewers remember first, but Stratton represented exactly the kind of experienced supporting performer who made the Munsters' ridiculous world feel strangely believable. Edward Mallory was born in 1930 in Cumberland, Maryland. He was in his mid-30s when he appeared as Jack on the Munsters, adding another straight-faced human character to a world where vampires, werewolves, and Frankenstein-like fathers were treated as perfectly normal neighbors. Mallory later became best known to television audiences for his long-running role as Dr. Bill Horton on Days of Our Lives. He died in 2007 at age 76. Jack was a small role compared with Mallory's later television work, but characters like him were important to the Munsters. The comedy worked best when ordinary people encountered this bizarre family, and somehow had to make sense of what they were seeing. Thanks for joining us as we look back at the Munsters, 1964, and the unforgettable stars who made this strange and lovable family a television legend. Which cast member do you remember most? Share your memories in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more classic TV stories. See you next time on Time Rewind TV.